Optimize Every Day, where we are looking for a 1% improvement daily. So, we've been talking a lot of different areas, and I know I had a guest yesterday. Um, I guess it's been 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are got Charlie back. He was off and needed to go get some medical stuff taken care of. So hopefully you're doing
Yeah,
better.
I had a sore tooth. My
And
tooth
that
was
always
hurting.
sucks.
That's worse than a like broken knee.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So what we're looking at today is how relationships can impact change. So I can give you a couple of examples where I've seen or even heard about. One of those, I can think back to when I was a kid and this guy sends his wife off to the fat farm and she comes back
Hold
all
on,
nice and thin.
what's the Fat Farm? What is that? Isn't that a clothing line or something?
That is where people who are fat go to lose weight, and they
Oh,
come back, and they're all fit and trim.
oh man.
And at the end of the day, the husband didn't want a fit and trim wife; he wanted a large woman, and so it was in her head, as far as that situation was, she did a good thing. In his head, it was destruction. You know, that is just one space where I can see, but that was theoretical, not in my purview.
Yeah.
So, as far as relationships and change, what do you see?
Man,
What is your experience?
yeah, this is a great topic because there's so many things in relationships that can push you forward to be highly
Oh,
successful, or
absolutely.
that can hold you back and
I agree.
be an impedance on your success. So, and it kind of goes both ways. Say it's a love relationship between a man and a woman. Both of them can be, one or the other can be toxic to the progress of the other person, which
Yeah.
also means that you're toxic to the group, or or one or the other can be very supportive in getting that person to move forward. I think historically, we look back in history, we see, even biblically, like a helpmate, right? It's not good for man to be alone because he's stupid and narrow-minded. He needs a woman to help him out, type thing, right?
Well,
And
they say, the most successful women
yeah, it's
or
great.
men have a
There's a
woman
great woman
behind you.
behind there, and that is actually a numerical fact. Most American millionaire, well, 85% approximately of American millionaires are married. They're not single bachelors flying around the world screwing things up for others. But they're, and the billionaires are the same way. 85% are married. So there's something to being married that gives a man, and I think it there's a lot of reasons. It frees up time, space, different things. But you can be married to the wrong person. For both men and women, you can be married to somebody who's very insecure in the wrong way. Now, we're all insecure, and we need our partner to secure certain things. Women need a certain set of security from their man. They need physical security, they need some financial security, they need different securities, right? And men need different securities from his woman, basically security over herself and her body and how she, goes about that. But sometimes we're hyper insecure where we don't want our partner to lose the weight. We don't want our partner to make more money, because we feel like we may lose them if they make more money.
I have seen situations where men are insecure with their wife being able to make more money than they do.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think that is a stupid idea personally,
Yeah, I want to speak
but
on that. I'm going to speak on that one.
But I can see how some men would feel like there is a competition or some negative,
Could be a negative outcome at the end of it.
well, not a negative outcome, but a negative perspective on the situation.
Yes. Yes.
And they
This is good.
don't have the cojones to either fix the situation
Yeah,
and make
fix it.
more money,
You can change it.
or to embrace the situation and make it easier for their wife to make even more money.
Yeah.
Because honestly, who cares who's making the most money in the household at the end of the day, so long as all the bills are met and you're getting money set aside for, things that the family wants to do.
Yeah. I'm about to tell you who cares. The woman cares. Women are naturally hypergamous, and men are naturally polygamous by nature. And so, what hypergamy is women always look up for love, right? And men always, not always, but in general, women look up for love, men look down for love. So, when a man usually searches for a wife or a woman to love, he's going to search for a woman that's usually shorter than he is. He's more attracted to women that have less money than he is, especially when they meet. Everything needs to be, he needs to be able to look down a little bit at her. She needs to be able to look up at him, and that turns her on. So her hypergamy is also the reason she'll go cheat and she'll do other things. They recently did a study, and I can't remember who it was, but of American women, it said that they expect their mate, the ideal man, to make 58% more money than they do. 58%.
That just flies in the face of all these people who sit there and say women need to have equality in pay. That throws a wrench into that.
Yeah. I agree
situation.
with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Me, I look at a relationship as a egalitarian situation where it's a pair of people who are equal but different.
There you go. I agree with that.
They don't necessarily have the same responsibilities. They don't necessarily have the same work goals, but they have a unified set of desires and outcomes that they are seeking. Not necessarily goals, but outcomes.
Yeah.
Because they don't. When the idea of a goal is usually you have a time frame on it, and outcome is when it happens. It happens.
When it happens, when we get there.
So that egalitarian relationship, monetary difference in earnings doesn't mean much because everybody's doing their part to get to where they need to be.
To that place together as a unified team.
The wife could work and the husband stay home, or it could be the husband works, the wife stays home.
Yes.
Or it could be both working but not working as much, so that there's the ability to take care of the family.
Yeah. Now that I love that you just brought in the family, right? That is a big key to men or women who would have the opinion that, hey, it's not that big a deal if she makes more money. Now, men in a position where they have leverage and options, right? With their wife, that's a certain position that he can play with his wife or girlfriend or whatever. Also, there's a point in relationships or marriages that is called the investment stage, right? This is where the man will invest things like his deepest finances. We're going to get a house. We're going to get this and that. He really invests in the family in the future, right? The wife gets invested by having children for the husband, things like that. Once she starts having the children and then all this investment goes on both ways, it kind of starts not to matter who makes the most money after a certain point. But if you're at a more fragile stage of your relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiancés, whatever, early in a marriage and you don't have the heavy investments, that's when the money thing starts to really crush your relationship and offset things.
I think there is some level of truth to that. I have not read any research on that, but how do we look at improving ourselves and making change when we have individuals in our lives that are where their likes, their fetishes, their whatever you want to call it, is impeding our ability or our desire to make the changes, or do we have to be constantly working with our partner or others who are integrated into our relationships,
Yeah.
how they can be partners in our positive change?
So the question you're asking is, what do we do? Like, do you continue to, and say they're not helping you be productive or they're going against your production?
Well, I'm asking, as far as if they're destroying or kind of forcing us backwards.
Yeah.
Is that something that is something that can be repaired so we can make the positive, or do we make another choice and just not make the changes?
I love that question.
Or is it,
Yeah.
they're helping us to achieve, and are we doing our best to reach
To try.
our
Yeah. That
100%, reach our potential, because they're actually behind us, pushing us along and helping us to improve and better.
Okay.
And then if that is happening, are we doing reciprocating?
Yeah. It's a pretty extensive question there.
There's like 5 questions.
Yeah, it
in
was.
there.
But I think I got them all on this one, because I love this subject, right? So I was once in a marriage that the person was a constant holdback. I was trying, my personality. I try all kind of big stuff. I'm always going.
Yeah.
I'm always busy. I never really stop. And I'm trying to build, and I'm, no matter what.
You're that little arm muscle, and you're constantly
it's just going.
pumping, and
the whole time I'm doing that, she's swatting at it. Stop trying to be something. Stop trying to build. And I'm like, but what is mine is yours, And she didn't care. It's personality types have a lot to do with it. And my advice to anyone who's in a relationship where you see clearly over an extended period of time, 6 months, a year, 2 years, that person is fighting your success because something about them doesn't want it, let them go as early as possible. And I don't care, man, woman, dog.
Is there a possibility that, counseling or something else might be able to, them going into counseling might be able to help them to see, and you yourself as well, see how you could be impeding them from helping you,
from what they want and what they're trying to do.
And they could be impeding you as well.
So you're saying that this counseling help is the question. So I'll give you an example from that marriage that I had. It was so frustrating. The first thing I did was bought Dr. Phil books and workbooks, right? And had a daughter with this person. And out of the Dr. Phil book and workbook, I'm like, okay, we're going to work through this because I'm really concerned about the relationship. I really want this to work, right? Now I'm doing the work to fix it. And she's not. So that's another clue, right? Somebody cares here and somebody's kind of not invested or doesn't care. I don't know. So I started there. Didn't really work. Actually got one of my kids' names from the Dr. Phil book, but that's a whole nother story. So that shows you how long ago I had to deal with this. But then I took her to marriage counseling. Me, once again, getting her into counseling. We go to a marriage counselor. He's an older gentleman, big white beard, almost looked like Santa. And he was just as nice as could be. I thought he was great. We got done with the session, And she was like, I don't want to go back to him immediately. And I'm like, okay, what do you want? She goes, I think we should go to a woman or something, this and that. I take her to another marriage counselor. This time it's a woman. Before the session is over, because both counselors basically had the same opinion, right? Before the session was over, my ex-wife gets up and calls her a B word and leaves. Another clue that I should have left and gotten a divorce many, many years before I did. So, yes, I think if the person is willing and has half of a brain, counseling, therapy, things like that can work. But there's just some people you cannot help. You may pick or choose them for the wrong reasons. I know I did. I looked at the wrong things. You can't look at a cute face and a certain bodily features and think you're getting a good package. You might be getting trash and that's dressed up as gold. So that's an important piece of it. I believe that
I think that, when you look at relationships, if you let things start to go in a direction and you are not aware, and it's really hard to not be aware.
Yeah, when you're a young man or young woman, you're not aware.
Young,
you're very unaware.
And allow things to start going a direction, and you are not getting some effort in to ensure that things are going the right direction. They're just going a direction, aimlessly in a direction.
Yeah, I think you individually as a person, you know what you're doing. You're like, I'm trying to be sick. Like as a young man, most young men, now there's some today that we can question, but most young men in our time, they just knew I got to be somebody. I got to go get money. I got to have a career. I got to take care of a family, a wife. We just knew where we were going.
Right.
And if you're a lucky guy, you had a woman, you got you a girl. Number one, you got you a girl if you were lucky. But number two, that she was supportive and caring of the mission and taking care, being your helpmate along the way. Most men, as we see in marriage statistics at a 56% divorce rate, as we see people aren't getting married now, we're not producing children. So these things are true. They are factual that most men cannot find this anymore. And the reason is because we're producing a bunch of young ladies who aren't wives anymore. They're not helpful wives. They're very into themselves.
I think part of that is the fact that these girls don't have fathers in their lives.
That's a fact.
They have.
That's an absolute fact.
They have male figures, but they don't have fathers.
No, they don't have fathers at home. Girls need fathers. Big time.
Just like boys need mothers, but boys need fathers too.
Yeah.
Fathers have a totally different role in the household than just a mother.
Yeah.
And we have had a lot of political things happen over the last 50 years that have
removed fathers from the home and left our girls unprotected, misguided and undecided.
And there are a lot of people out there who they're just misguided in their own personal thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think that counseling, when done at the right time, could save a lot of marriages. Done at the wrong time, can it exacerbate and enhance the time frame of a divorce getting completed. And if you just let things just fester, you could just be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not on just the male side, that's on the female side.
There's the female side too. The reason that so many divorces happen is not because necessarily the man's unhappy, because men generally don't get divorced. Men get divorced at a very low rate. And even when they do go for a divorce, it's because the wife has cut him off of sex for the last 2 years. She doesn't want him. She's cheating. So he's forced to get a divorce. Most men, 93% of men would never even try it, because when men get married, they get married thinking it's a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
When a woman gets married, she gets married because it feels good, it seems right, it's awesome at the time. When things go bad for too long, she will change her mind, and that's what happens. Women change their mind. They get divorces because they get unhappy. It's as simple as that. And it's really easy to get unhappy with a guy who has way too much money or a guy who doesn't have enough. So the thing that women give in a marriage pretty much stays as a static state because it's generally her body. I want to say this one thing. Earlier, you were talking about the equality, right? Between men and women, and I think it was about money being made, right? And inequality.
I was talking about an egalitarian situation,
Yeah.
equal but different.
Equal but different. And I want to talk about what that difference is because most people don't know this or understand this. So I'll see if I can make this very clear. In the regular world, you say, so let's do this hypothetical. There's two worlds, okay? You have to look at this in two pieces. In the regular world, men and women going to work, making even money and equal seems fine in the regular world, right? In the world of business and finance, that seems okay. But in this other world, let's call that the world of loving relationships, it doesn't work. Now, why doesn't it work? It doesn't work because there's a covenant, a trade going on between men and women. When they come together, the woman's primary thing that she's looking for, once again, is this level of security. She wants to know that, she's going to have kids and offspring. She wants to know that, can we get a house eventually, or are we going to be able to eat, or we're taken care of, things like that. She looks primarily at a man's finances or his potential to get finances and secure things, right? That's why she likes bigger men that are smarter, blah, 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 and stronger. Now, a man, when he comes looking for a woman in the world, he's not looking for that. He cares less about her finances. He cares about how cute she is, how sexy she is, and how sweet and kind she is. And is she nurturing? Those are the qualities he's looking for in general. That's what's traded in love and relationships. So when you give her a bunch of money, it messes up that trade. Men and women can no longer do good business. And now we have a disaster, a national disaster of marriages, relationships. People can't find a partner now. People divorcing. We're not having children anymore. So much that we have to open our borders to get citizens because men and women in America don't love each other enough anymore to have kids. It's ridiculous.
I think that this is getting into a very deep area.
Oh, deep.
And at this juncture of time, I think that we've reached a level at which I need to go and read up some more. This is an area I know quite a bit about.
This is the only area I'm an expert in. This is it.
Your expertise is quite a bit different than mine.
Yeah.
And your experience is a lot different than mine.
Yeah, the experiences are different, but I don't go on my personal experiences when I do when I get into the science of it. I really look at the statistics. I look at statistics over time. And then, go ahead.
I go looking at the research, and I go find the research from going back as much as 100 years.
Yeah.
And then I look at the current research.
Yeah.
And then I do some evaluations. So I have a breadth of knowledge in the area and a depth of knowledge in the area. And that seminal research is really important to me in understanding. So, people like Piaget and Maslow and Erickson.
I like Maslow.
And you like Maslow's stages?
Hierarchy of needs, baby.
Yep.
That's where I'm at.
That's the one.
That's where I'm at.
So I think that this is a good place for us to stop for today. I think that
I do want to say from what you said about just now about, going back in history and seeing it forward, through time. Prime example, 100 years ago, I think the average marrying age for a woman in America was like 18 or 20 maybe. Now the age is 32.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
It's huge. Think about this.
Big.
Where are we
So-
at? What
so-
world is this?
So I think I need to do a little bit more research on this area
Well,
because
we're
I'm
talking about
feeling it.
relationships today a little bit. He was trying to help me out, talk about relationships a little bit, because he know that's my wheelhouse, man.
So, but I want to get a little bit more in tuned with that, so that we can better get to where we can make changes here. I think we've got the theoretical piece,
Yeah.
but I don't think we've got the
How do you
piece
exercise
how
this?
to make the changes work and how to we talked about excising ourselves from a situation, but
How do you do it inside the relationship?
how do you make changes in the inside the relationship where the changes that you're making are positive and that your partner will see as positive, and that you can do the same to help your partner reach their positive goals as well. Because I do know that when you have changes happening, you can have negative changes as well as positive changes. And, there's been people who have basically gone from zeros to heroes and back to zeros just as quick because they were making a positive change and then they made a negative change because of the positive change and they didn't have support or they felt like they weren't getting supported, and so then they started screwing it up because they didn't feel like they had support when in reality they probably did.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion for a later date.
So did we give them the answer for today?
I don't think we have given them any
You
answers
can't conclude
today.
it till you answer them. That's what we're trying to get to that.
But
So-
I think, and this is me thinking, is that when we're looking to make a positive change, we need to let those people who are around us, who we believe are going to impact us in being able to make the positive change. And that could be coworkers at work, that could be our bosses, that could be our spouse, that could be our friends. There's a lot of people in that bubble of influence that could impact how we see how we're making those changes.
Yeah.
And they can see us making changes in a different manner and they could try and sabotage. So our goal is not to have them sabotaging but helping us.
I agree with that.
And so my encouragement here is that you have discussions with those people who might be impacted by the changes you're making. And in some cases, when it comes to things like money and you want to make more money and you want to be involved in making more money, one of the things you need to do is lose the loser friends who are trying to keep you poor.
They'll hold you back
and
all
make
day
you
long.
friends who will help you move ahead and become richer.
Yeah.
Because the people who are rich, most of them are more than willing to invite almost anybody into their circle so long as they're not a drag.
Yeah, if you're helpful to the situation, or it's about adding value. Even when you go to companies, add value and they'll work with you.
Yeah.
In relationships, add value. That's the exchange. That you make in a relationship. I'm valuable to you. You're valuable to me. Is a value equal something good?
Right.
And that's how people
So,
do business.
We need to be adding value to ourselves, and we need to be adding value to those we are with.
Yeah, the more value you add to yourself, the more you
So-
can give to others.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, we're gonna wrap this up because
Pretty
we're
good.
we're
He's
basically out
tired.
of
I
time.
can tell he's tired. He's been going too hard today. I can tell.
I've been going all day long. I literally have been, and the weather has not helped.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Weather's crazy.
go ahead and like and subscribe and make any comments that you have on this topic. I'd love to read them and even make any responses to your comments. And thank you so much for watching.